Assalamu alaikum. My name is Owais Shaikh, and today for today's class, our topic would be supply, which we have already discussed in our classes. So this the purpose for this video is to just revise this topic again, so that you would be able to attempt some past paper questions. Okay. So what basically is supply? Supply is the willingness and ability of a producer to produce a good or a service at a particular price, time, and place. Are we getting it? Supply is from the side of the producer. Supply is from the side of producer or a manufacturer. Okay, so if you're talking about supply, you need to think like a supplier or a manufacturer. You need to think like a supplier, manufacturer, or producer. And if you would think like a producer or a manufacturer, so you must know that your main motive of producing goods and services would be to maximize your profit, maximize the returns, right? To earn the profit, you would be producing a good or a service to earn profit, right? So in order to maximize your profit, you would want what? You would always want to sell your product at a high selling price, at a high price. Are we getting it? So that means if there would be high price, so you would be more motivated to supply, right? If there would be high price, so supply would be more, right? For example, if you are a laptop manufacturer and the market prevailing price is PKR 100,000, that is a high price for a laptop, right? And in other case, your selling price is, let's say, 25,000. So these are your selling price. In which selling price you would be more motivated to produce? You obviously, you are sitting there to produce at a high price because you want to earn high profit, right? So you would sell at a higher price. So if the prices would be high, your quantity supplied would be higher. And if your price would be low, this is a low price, right? And this is a high price. And if your prices would be low, you would be producing less quantity. Are we getting it? The main aim of the producer, manufacturer, or supplier is to earn the profit, and the higher the selling price would be, the higher the profit would be. So, you, as a supplier, as a manufacturer, would always want to produce at a higher price, and if there would be a higher price of that product, you would produce more. Are we getting it? Okay. So I've seen some student confusing this concept with this thing. If the selling price is high, so that means the cost would also be high. So this is not the case, because you always assume that only the selling price is high and your cost is constant. So, so do not mix these two things. Are you getting it? Selling price is what the consumer pays, and cost is what the producer bears. Are we getting it? So whenever I say high selling price, that means only the selling price of that product would be high and not the cost price. Cost would always remain the same. Are we getting it? Are we clear with it? Okay. So, what is the law of supply? The law of supply is, if the price would increase, so the quantity supply would increase because the producer wants to earn more profit. And if the price would decrease, the quantity supply would decrease because the producer would get less motivated to produce, as there is less amount of profit involved with that production. Are we getting it? Okay. So these are the two variables, price and selling, price and quantity supplied. If the price is being increased, the quantity supply is also being increased, and if the price is decreased, the quantity supplied is getting decreased. This means these two variables has a positive relation, so their curve would be upward sloping. Therefore, we say that the supply curve is always upward sloping. Are we getting it? The supply curve is always upward sloping because these two variables, price and quantity supplied, both have a positive relationship. Okay, let's now discuss the supply curve. Okay, so this is your supply curve, and this is a upward sloping supply curve. This is the upward sloping supply curve, and let's see what happens if I increase the price of the product. Let's see what happens if I increase the price of the product. Currently, the price of the product is 5, and the producer is able to sell 100 units. The sorry, my mistake. The currently the price is 5, and the producer is able to produce 100 units. The producer is willing and able to produce 100 units. And if I increase the price by dollar, let's say 7, so my new quantity would be that the producer would supply would be, let's say, 120. Are you getting it? That as I increase the price of the product, my quantity supplied also increased. And if I decrease the price of the product, let's say if I keep it like let's say $3, if I keep it $3, so my supply would also decrease to, let's say, 50. Are we getting it? If I decrease the price, my supply would decrease, and if I increase the price, my supply would increase. Are we getting it? Are we clear with the logic? Okay. Okay. So now let's move on to the changes in the supply curve. The supply curve would be affected through two type of changes. The first change is the price factor, and the other change is the non-price factor. Basically, let's discuss the price factor first, and then we'll move on towards the non-price factor. Price factor means if I increase or decrease the price of the product. If I increase or decrease the price of the product, increase or decrease price of the product. Let's say, for example, in the like if we take the example of the above case here, so we are increasing the price and we are decreasing the price, right? So this is a price factor. Are we getting it? So this is a price factor. So if we talk about price factor, that means the price would increase or either the price would decrease. If we talk about price factor, there would be a movement along the curve. Are we getting it? There would be a movement along the curve, and the movement along the curve can be caused by two changes, through increase in price and decrease in price. If there would be an increase in price, so that means the supply would be higher, right? If the prices would be high, so the supplier would be motivated to supply more. So if the price would high, the supplier would supply more, and this would cause extension in the supply curve. Extension in the supply curve. Okay. For example, we have a supply curve below. So let's see, if I increase the price, of this product, let's say if I make it $6, I am increasing the price, and let's see what happens. I am increasing the price, and let's see what happens. Currently I was able to sell 100 units, but now as I increase the price by $1, now I am able to sell 20 more units. Are we getting it? So my supply is being increased due to an increase in price. So this is a price factor. This has caused a movement along the curve. Previously we were standing at this point. But now our supply has moved towards this point. So we are moving along the curve. We are moving on the curve. See, we are moving on the curve. So this is known as extension. Are we clear with extension? Okay, so now let's move on to the contraction. And in the contraction case, the price, if the price decreases, so the quantity supply would also decrease, which would cause contraction in the supply curve, when the contraction would obviously cause due to a decrease in price. Now let's uh, do it practically, that how, what would happen if I would decrease the price of this product. Currently the price is 5 and I am able to sell 100 units, and I am able to produce 100 units, and now I decrease the price to dollar, let's say 3. Now let's see what happens. My supply also decreased to, let's say, 80 units. So if I'm decreasing my price, my supply is also decreasing. So previously I was standing at this point. Previously, before the drop in price, I was standing at this point, but now as the price of that commodity or the product has decreased, so now I am here. Correct? So this is a contraction case. This is contraction. Are we clear on this topic? Okay, now let's talk about the non-price factors which causes changes in the supply curve. The non-price factors, say this word itself is self-explanatory. I don't need to explain it more. It says non-price factors, that the price would not change. That the price would not change. Are we getting it? The price will not change. The price will remain constant. The price will remain constant. The price be the constant. Okay, the prices are constant, prices are same, price won't change, but there are some other factors that would cause a change in the supply curve. Other factors can be the cost of production. For example, if the cost of production of a producer increases, if the cost of production of a producer would increase, that means the profit of that producer would decrease, right? The profit would decrease, and if the profit would decrease, the producer would be less willing to supply, less willing, and if he would be less willing to supply, then that means the quantity supply would be lesser. Are we getting it? And the other non-price factor can be the corporate taxes. I'm not explaining all of them. I'll make another video explaining all these factors. Okay, so the other factor can be corporate taxes. For example, if there would be more corporate taxes, that means the profit would be lesser, because you have to pay more amount to the government. So less amount being stayed by the producer, right? So if there would be more taxes, the profit would be lesser, and this would lead to decrease in supply. Are we done with this? So there are some non-price factors. Non-price factor means other than the price, which will cause a decrease or an increase in the supply. For example, if I say my expansion capacity increased, I bought some more machines, I bought another factory due to which I can produce more. So if my expansion capacity increases, that means I can supply more. If I can supply more, that means my quantity supplied would be higher, right? So in these cases, my prices are not being changed. Prices are what? Prices are constant. Prices are not changed, but there are some other factors which are causing changes in the supply curve. So if there would be a non-price factor change in the supply curve, this would cause shifts. So this would cause a shift in the supply curve. So there would be two type of shifts in the supply curve: inward or a leftward shift, or a outward or a rightward shift. The inward shift would cause decrease in the quantity supplied, and the outward shift would cause increase in the quantity supplied. Let's first discuss the inward or the leftward shift. This case, if there would be leftward shift, this would means that your quantity supplied would decrease. So this is your supply curve, and let's make a leftward shift. Supply S dash. S dash represents the supply has decreased, or this is a inward shift. Are we clear with this? Currently, we our price was $5 and we were able to produce 100 units. And now, as due to non-price factor, for example, the taxes has increased, due to which our supply has shifted inward. Now our new supply curve is this one, and at this price level, that is $5, we are only willing to produce, let's say, 50 units. So due to a non-price factor, there was a shift in the supply curve, and due to which we are only producing 50 units at this price level. Are we clear with this? So in this case, our prices are not changed. Our price was the same. Done? Easy? Okay. Let's move on. Let's make it clean. Okay, so let's discuss the outward or the rightward shift. So if your supply would increase, so this would cause an outward shift, and in this case your supply is being increased due to the non-price factor other than the price factor, right? So your new supply curve would be this outward shift S1, right? S1. The outward shift would be represented by S1. This is an outward shift, and in this case, now your price was $5 and you were willing to produce 100 units, but now as your supply curve has shifted outward, now you would want to produce more at the same price level. See, at the same price level you would be producing more. So my question is, was there a change in price? No, there was no change in price, only due to the non-price factors. Those were given above. Let's say those were expansion capacity, corporate taxes, season, weather, and your cost of production. Due to the changes in the above, this has been caused the outward shift. Are we getting it? So due to this outward shift, our supply has increased and there was a no change in price. Okay, so this is all what I had to teach for today. So just wait for my another video that would be inshallah on the factors, the non-price factors affecting the supply curve. I would be explaining these factors again to you in some more detail. So let's wait for that. Okay, so this was for today. Thank you.